7:13, Sam Donaldson waiting in the wings. He is essential personnel. That's why he shows up to work every day. Good morning, ABC News. Is Sam Donaldson.
Hey, good morning, McGraw. Good morning, sir.
All right, so there's only one topic. It's the government shutdown. I mean, we've all seen what's going on. They're just sort of talking past each other and holding their breath, hoping the other one caves, right? I mean, that's sort of the strategy right now.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I was just thinking this morning. I was there in Washington when the Cuban Missile Crisis brought us to within a whisker of a thermonuclear exchange, and that was dangerous. But I think what's happening now has the potential of being even more dangerous. If the United States defaults on its debts and pulls the world economy down into another Great Depression, well, start selling apples in the corner and hope someone will buy them.
You know what's interesting about this, Sam, is that you're also starting to hear people, Republicans mostly, claiming that, hey, don't worry about it. It's a whole bunch of nothing. It's going to be fine.
You know, they're smoking. They're smoking. If you don't pay your debts, whether it's you, me, we don't pay the mortgage guy, it's the house. If you don't pay your debts, it's not fine. It's okay, they say, because if they were to say, yeah, if we bring this down by demanding what the president calls extortion, we're going to be in the target. I have to say, it's not that bad. Well, folks, it is that bad. Sorry.
But what's scary to me is that these aren't just crazy fringe callers from South County who are saying this. These are elected leaders, people who should know better. And so it's one thing to say this on the campaign trail. It's another thing to say it as like policy. And if politicians say it long enough, they believe it to be true. And if enough politicians think the debt ceiling's not that big of a deal, they're not dealing in reality.
They're not dealing in reality. What we have going here is a minority that sincerely believes that this new health care law is terrible. It is just awful. It may be. And therefore, they, the minority, will demand that the majority, which passed the law, which put it on the books, with a president who campaigned to some extent last November on that law and won re-election, that it doesn't matter what the majority thinks. We, the minority, will have our way. It's our way or the highway. It's rule or ruin. And that doesn't mean that the United States can persist very long, because both sides would start playing that game, and then where would we be?
So I think it all goes through John Boehner, and I think John Boehner either caves and brings something to the floor and gets it passed with Democratic support, or he doesn't. I don't see the president caving on this.
President can't cave. If he caved on this, where does it stop? Where do you not cave? What's next? If our system is that a minority can override the will of the majority, except in the conventional way of electing their own people and becoming the majority, hey, that's the way it works. An election is term limits, folks. Absolutely. That if the minority can do this, well, tomorrow the minority could be the Democrats, demanding that a Republican president cave on gun control, cave on immigration, cave on something else, or we won't raise the debt ceiling and we'll go bankrupt. That's not the country we have.
I know we're not crazy, Sam, because if the opposite were true, if there were a Republican in the White House and the Republicans owned the Senate and the Democrats owned the House, and there were a fraction of super liberal Democrats who were holding them hostage, the echo chamber would be screaming bloody murder.
As it should be.
Right.
As you hear the other side now, the president leading the way, screaming whatever you want to call it. Folks, the Republicans, excuse me, are going to have to cave to the extent that they keep the government open and that the full faith and credit of the United States. Why do you think the Japanese and the Chinese put their money here? People complain, the Chinese owners, they put $1 trillion. Why do you think that is? Because our currency is the safest in the world. Now, when we default, it will be junk bonds.
I also think the phrase caving to keep the government open is sort of a misnomer, right? I mean, we're all right, we're caving, we'll keep the government open. That's not a negotiation, right? That's just what you do.
Well, that's what keeps us running. We have a government.
Right.
It has to be funded. We, the people, fund it with taxes and other ways, and you keep it open. Otherwise, what do we have? Anarchy?
Yeah.
No government? Is that what these people want? I doubt it if they think about it. I mean, how many people can, come behind their gates with a shotgun to try to defend their family from the crowds that would then be able to pillage and burn with impunity? We have to have a government. People who say they hate the government, well, dislike bad government, liberal government, wasteful government, but the government?
Yeah.
That's us.
Yeah, no question about it. Trey Harden, we were talking to yesterday, said he's got about a 70% chance that we actually default. He says we're going over. What are your thoughts, Sam? We're going to talk next week, and we're going to be dangerously close to that tipping point next week. What do you think is going to happen in the next week?
Well, I hope that enough Republicans in the House will simply override those 40 or 50 people who just say it's my way or the highway, I don't care. There are people quoted this morning as saying they don't care, for instance, if the Republicans lose the House in the next election. This is so important. They are going to stand here. I don't care what arguments you make. I don't care what the majority wants. They're going to do it. I hope and believe it's possible that enough other Republicans in the House will say, fellows, would you please stand over in the corner so we can keep this country going?
We'll wait and see. Sam Donaldson, great as always. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next Wednesday.
Okay, McGraw.
9:20 here in the Big 550 KTRS. Sam Donaldson. Sam Donaldson just said that we're living through a time that he thinks might be scarier than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Think about that for a second. We were on the brink of nuclear war with the Soviet Union. And only because Khrushchev blinked did we avert some type of nuclear war. And Sam Donaldson thinks we're living in a more dangerous time right now. 7:20 on the Big 550 KT.